everybody, welcome back to 100% Mark. So I've got some absolutely amazing breaking news for Newcastle United going into this game on Saturday. Newcastle's Premier League match against West Brom is set to go ahead on Saturday following an outbreak of COVID-19 within the first team squad last week. Now, I do apologise if I am going to be looking at the screen quite a bit during this video. It's just that I want to get out all the information possible without missing any of the information that I'm trying to get across in this video. So I do apologise in advance if I'm not looking at the camera throughout the video quite a bit. The following playing squad trained together as a group on Wednesday for the first time in 13 days. On Tuesday, on the first day back of training following multiple positive COVID-19 cases. Those that had returned negative results trained in small groups and arrived at different times for their small sessions. A tweet from Newcastle yesterday read that the NUFC squad returned to full group training this afternoon following last week's temporary closure due to a rise in COVID-19 cases. Now, that was put out by Newcastle yesterday on Twitter. The decision was made on the grounds that the team was unable to prepare as a group, and therefore the club managed to successfully appeal to have last Friday's match against Aston Villa postponed until a later date, which is completely understandable as we wouldn't have been able to play that game with how many players were out with COVID, testing negative for COVID. At this stage, there's been no appeal from Newcastle to have Saturday's match follow suit, and it is understood that a handful of players remain isolating at home following positive test results over the past week. But Newcastle will have enough players to put a team out at St James's Park on Saturday, which is good news for us going into that game. The Premier League rules, of course, as we all know, state that any player or staff member must isolate for 10 days, having returned a positive test. Some of the squad returned positive test results less than 10 days ago at the beginning of last week. Neither Newcastle, West Brom or the Premier League have formally confirmed that the match will go ahead, but it is expected to do so. And of course, we played the last game against Crystal Palace, where we won 2-0, with Joe Linton and Callum Wilson scoring the goals. At this moment in time, we currently sit 13th in the table after 10 games played in the table and in the season. If we look at the Premier League table up on screen now, we're currently sitting 13th, 14 points out of 10 games played. If we do win the game on Saturday against West Bromwich Albion, that will give us 17 points, which could push Wood to a respectable top half of the table, of course, with goal difference being a factor as well. Looking at West Brom, they're currently sitting 19th in the table with 6 points. If they win the game on Saturday, then they will get 9 points out of the game, which could push them to just outside of the relegation zone. Looking at the West Brom side going into this game, of course, Slaven Bilic needs this win once again, as he's got another similar situation as he was in when he was the manager of West Ham, where he's got to play Newcastle and he needs to win the game. Otherwise, he's going to get the sack. And you know, is it going to be another similar situation to that? Is he going to lose the game on Saturday and end up getting the sack? Hopefully, in my opinion, you know, Newcastle do come away from this game with a win. We need this win, especially with what's happened in the last week at the club with the COVID outbreak, and it would really boost the spirits around the team as well. And I've got to say, you know, looking at the recent meetings between the two sides, Newcastle are the much better side as well coming into this game. We played them back in March in the FA Cup 5th round tie, where, of course, we won 3-2 at the Hawthorns. Of course, West Bromwich Albion were championship side back then, back in March. And West Brom are going to be without, of course, Matheus Pereira as well, who picked up a red card in the game against Crystal Palace last weekend. And of course, West Brom try to have that rescinded, and it hasn't worked in their favour. So he is going to serve the first of a 3-game match ban against Newcastle. so he won't be able to play in the game for them on Saturday if that game, of course, goes ahead, which does look like it could possibly go ahead at this moment in time. It's all touch and go, though, still, I believe. The ref is none other than Darren England from Barnsley. First game of the season involving Newcastle, but it is, of course, his second in his senior career, with him already presiding over a game where Newcastle were involved back in the League Cup back in 2017 at St James Park, which was a game where Newcastle lost 3-2 to Nottingham Forest. I was actually at that game, and I've got to say, Darren England wasn't the greatest of refs. He made some very bad decisions when he was asked upon to make a decision in the game. The guy to be on VAR for this game is going to be none other than Anthony Taylor. He's not the greatest neither. He's made questionable decisions in the past when he's ref Newcastle games, and we'll have to see how he goes about his VAR duties on Saturday if, like I say, the game does go ahead. Slaven Bilic's side have won just one in their first 11 games back in the Premier League, a 1-0 home win, which was against, of course, Sheffield United, who last season seemed to do really well under Chris Wilder, but this season, I feel like they've been found out and really need to up their game if they want to stay in the Premier League for another season. But West Brom, of course, picked up that win against them this season at home. And then, of course, the only team not to score at least once against them in that run was, of course, Burnley. On the road this season, West Brom are the joint lowest goal scorers in the division with 3 goals, and of course 2 of them goals coming in the game against Everton. They've been beaten 4 times in 5 away games from the Hawthorns. Their sole point came in a 1-1 draw with Brighton. And of course, you have to go back to April of 17-18 season, where West Brom picked up a 1-0 win at St James's Park and took away all 3 points from Tyneside. In the past 5 meetings, like I say, there was that 1-0 defeat in the 17-18 season, but before that we won 1-0 in the 15-16 season with Alexander Mitrovic scoring the goal. We drew 1-1 in the 14-15 season with Jose Perez scoring in that game. The 13-14 and the 12-13 seasons, of course, were both 2-1 wins, with Johan Gouffran and Sissoko scoring in the 13-14 season, and Demba Ba and Papi Cisse scoring in the 12-13 season, respectively. Now, moving on to the game on Saturday, hopefully Newcastle will have the full first team out in the game, but like I say, there is quite a few players that are still at this moment in time in isolation, so hopefully, we'll have at least a good strength squad out to take West Brom on. There will, of course, be some under-23 lads probably called up to fill up some of the spaces that is going to be left void by the players that are out isolating still at this moment in time. But I'm going to go with Newcastle come away from this one with a 2-1 win against West Bromwich Albion. Let us know your thoughts, of course, down in the comments below. Any West Brom fans watching as well, let us know what you think going into this game on the weekend. If, of course, it does go ahead, hopefully it does. Let's fingers crossed and all that it does actually go ahead, because it would be really nice to see some Premier League action as a Newcastle United fan, especially with we're missing out on that game last Friday against Aston Villa, which, I fully understand at the end of the day the players had to go in isolation just so that it doesn't cause too much trouble with the rest of the league, and everybody else doesn't get infected by the virus that's currently going around at the moment. But hopefully the game does go ahead on Saturday. Until next time, remember to like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags, and I'll see you all later. How are the lads?